Welcome to this session from Opengear. Out-of-band management is a technology that has been used by network engineers to keep the infrastructure going for many years. And the same way we see a lot of changes in the networking space, we also see a lot of changes coming in the out-of-band management infrastructure space. And the way we see it, out-of-band is going to evolve from being just a remediation and resilience tool to become also a tool that helps with network provisioning, that helps and supports the automation of network operation. With Lighthouse 5, which we are announcing here at Cisco Live, we have automated the deployment and the management of the out-of-band infrastructure, and we are taking the first steps to help the network engineers to also automate the way they manage their infrastructure. And Rob is going to do today a very cool demo, and he's going to talk about how Lighthouse can help you automate the management of your infrastructure. Rob?
Yep, so next slide. So to start with a quick introduction, I know I've met at least a few of you 2 years ago in San Diego. I did the little demo with Monty Python, I don't know if you remember that one. But yeah, about me, I've been with Opengear nearly since the start. My background, I started in Brisbane offices. It's our R&D headquarters in Australia. I was doing software development there, so mainly firmware development. Then I moved over to Cambridge in the UK and did 4 years of like BD work, basically. I was kind of wearing a few hats, but basically being more customer facing than code facing. And in the last few years, I've actually gone back onto the product management side. So I did 2 years as the product owner for our firmware of our embedded devices we have here. You can pass someone around if you want. And the central management software Lighthouse that I'm going to show off today. So yeah, basically what I do today, my title is Distinguished Engineer, which is suitably vague for the kinds of things I do. So really I work with Marcio in researching new products and applications, basically have a bunch of fun building POCs and breaking stuff, hopefully not like breaking the demo today. Also I just plug in my blog post there too. So I'm just going to go through a quick presentation to give you a bit of context about our users, I guess, and Lighthouse 5 itself. And then we'll go into a live demo, which will probably be the more interesting bit. But really what we want to do is showcase what we've been working on for the last few years now. So that's culminated here at Cisco Live with the release of Lighthouse 5. We've also released our embedded firmware version 4.0. So what is common to both of these things, which is, I guess, going to be the focus of the demo today, is they now embed a RESTful API. So we're excited about all the kind of new use cases and all the new integrations and extensions that this opens up. So really, I guess, looking for you guys' feedback about the kind of ideas and things like that. As and when you have them, you can sing out and we'll do any kind of deep dives or whatever. But there's a Q&A session at the end, as you know. Give you a bit of background about out-of-band. I guess most of you guys will be familiar with out-of-band, but I guess for those playing at home, it always helps just to do the quick 50,000 view overview. So when we started out-of-band management was really about having dumb serial consoles on the network. They're sitting in a static IP address. They were really kind of just an access server, right? So I've just called them like JBOC. They're just a bunch of consoles. So more recently, and I think last year, one of our SEs, Dan Baxter, gave you a presentation on the evolution of out-of-band. So really that was, I guess, the last decade, these requirements have really evolved, and we've started to see the emergence of smart out-of-band, which is what we're calling it. So I guess the evolution, the kinds of things we're talking about have been catalyzed by server virtualization. So you're not using console servers to manage physical servers anymore because that's all virtualized. So now console servers, out-of-band management is more about network devices, which means that necessarily it's more complex because you are doing the out-of-band management for the infrastructure that often you're being accessed via. So that's why we've adopted things like embedded cellular for a built-in redundant connection. Networks have become pushed out, to the edge, more infrastructure at the edge, things like CDNs, data centers built outside urban areas away from ops teams. So remote management's becoming increasingly important. And also business pressures and just like, the explosive growth of networks means networks have grown often by augmentation rather than, considered redesign and things like that. So you get a lot of complexity, a lot of fragility, and hence the need for some kind of resilient way to be able to manage and fix stuff when it breaks. So over this time, customers have turned to us, I guess because of our proximity and our presence, where we've got one of our devices in all their different POPs, all their different networks, their branches, and proximity, where literally like cabled in to the management console via RS-232 or USB. So it kind of seems like a good place to start building in the logic that's going to make my job easier. So I guess the result is we've incorporated into our products, like embedded into our products, many features we wouldn't have dreamed of 10, 15 years ago. So things like having a dynamic VPN that'll start and stop to re-establish your management network over the cellular if your main connection's gone down. Have that happen all automatically and transparently. Things like an SMS client that will literally send you an SMS to let you know that your data center's flooding. Having that kind of thing in what used to be like a basic dumb serial access device is, so that we've come a ways. So basically, I guess the take-home is we've built in a load of features that are solving very specific customer problems, right? The kind of problems you have is managing a modern network. And in this case, for a lot of our customers today, I guess our typical customer, scaling means more, right? More features, more ops, or usually just means like more work for less ops to do, right? So in parallel, we're seeing another kind of another type of user, I guess, emerging, and these are particularly in when we're dealing with kind of more disruptive tech-savvy companies. So basically, these are net admins who write code. So I mean, I guess a few years ago, even like the most common question that I'd get escalated from support is like, how do I attach this serial cable to this console? Like, what adapter do I need? But now it's I'll get sent code snippets and say like, why isn't Paramiko talking to your stuff the way that I expect it to? And of course it's because they've written buggy code, right? Not because of us. But yeah, really, I mean, these are kind of trends and things that have been discussed a lot, around the internet. And there's the term net DevOps that's come out there. And really it's about adopting a lot of the principles of agile software development and applying that to infrastructure management. So it was, it's historically been DevOps, that's been about the compute side, and that's starting to merge over or bleed over into the network side as well. So things like having configurations that are simple, general, and modular, and also having deployment practices that are repeatable and continuous testable and automatable, if I didn't say that one already. And also, I mean, in the previous slide, we were talking about lots of vendor special cases, like lots of code to address corner cases that you're having with a particular devices, and embedding that stuff in smart solutions like Opengear. Now it's about generalization, like templating config, having things like you might describe your network in YAML or something like that, rather than dealing with a whole bunch of vendor-specific configs. So we're talking about like the central dogma of net DevOps is infrastructure as code. I want to be able to create, describe, deploy my network like it was a web scale app, effectively. So we're also seeing things like collaboration tools like Slack, and that's like a big foreshadow for the demo, right? But I guess again the take home here is for this it's emerging I guess class of user, or these kind of trends we're seeing, because there is a lot of overlap. It's not like one company will be old, the old traditional way or this new way. There's a lot of overlap. Different organizational units will use different practices and bits and pieces here and there. But what we're seeing is, like, I guess the theme is scale means less. So reducing complexity, creating lower touch type scenarios for their ops to deal with, and less vendor specials, less vendor encumbrance. So what we've done, I guess, to address these changes, or I guess to go with these changes, right? So we've added, a few years ago, we added zero-touch provisioning. So we were the first to do that in the out-of-band space. It's a common thing you have in routers and switches, effectively, where you're at a factory state, you're pulling your config and your firmware updates off a DHCP or a file server. So we've embedded that, and we've added that feature to our product. We're continuing to have some low-touch features, like smart groups that I'll show you in the next few slides. We have port name discovery, so you can literally plug in a console and have it auto learn what's plugged in. That's coming in the Q3 version of firmware. And also just, I guess, being smart about things that we know the most about, right? So your USB or serial cable connectivity and things like that. Taking that information and being able to push that upstream through things like SNMP traditionally, but now with things like RESTful API that we've just added. And at the same time, we've been being able to scale out. So you can scale up in the data center by being able to deploy lots of devices using DTP. You can scale out using Lighthouse with all your branch offices. They might be connected via cellular, might be connected via their primary network connection. I guess the idea of Lighthouse is that what we're trying to do is basically if you're managing your infrastructure and you don't know that you're going over cellular and you're going over serial, we've done our job, right? We just want to make out-of-band completely transparent. If you're busy enough running a production network, you don't want to be busy managing your out-of-band. So yeah, any questions so far about, that's kind of just like a high level.
Ask just quickly, what is kind of the valuable pieces of your RESTful API, and what is the kind of information that I can get?
Yep.
And kind of go back and forth with the Opengear boxes.
Yep. So we've just done our initial release. So I guess the way that we're doing it is we're customers of our own API. So our new web UI is completely built over the RESTful API. It's literally just like an Ember.js JavaScript web app. So everything you can do in the UI, you can do through the RESTful API. So that's stuff like pull out serial numbers, connected status, whether it's connected to Lighthouse or not, IP addresses, things like that. As we add more management features, as we add more UI features, the second point to make is that Lighthouse uses a RESTful API to manage the connected nodes, we're calling them, and we'll go into a bit of terminology in a minute. But boxes like this, and also like your data center boxes, we're calling like nodes. So all the management between Lighthouse and the nodes is over the RESTful API. So everything Lighthouse can do to these guys, our users can do through the RESTful API as well. Yep. And as we add more features, that the breadth of features expands as well.
Do you have a community for scripts, like a place where people are sharing all of those things that they've done?
So this is all really new, so not yet. I do have a GitHub, or we do have a GitHub, and I've literally the demo's up there right now. So that's probably where we're looking to build out some exemplar type programs and implementations, just as I guess as reference designs as much as anything. And we're going to probably have a proper client library, at least for Python up there to make things a bit easier. In terms of community, we don't have that right now, but that's certainly something that would be interesting, I reckon. Yeah.